Hello and welcome or welcome back. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Today we're going to be doing our anticipated releases. If you have never seen my other ones, I like to do mine quarterly. That way we just focus on a 3-month time span because release dates change all the time and who knows, I could have read something and then they have a next book in the series coming out and I'm like, oh, now I want to get to that one. This is definitely not like super all the books coming out, but just the ones that I have read about that I think sound interesting and you guys might like to know about too. Jumping into it with our special guest Sunshine, who is sniffing a light and may or may not leave us, is going to be The Stolen Heir by Holly Black. This one comes out on the January 3rd and it is a YA fantasy. This does take place in the world that she has already created with the Folk of the Air series, but it is its own first in a duology, so possibly you could actually read this on its own as well. Maybe. So that's why I did it instead of in honorable mentions actually. The next one though is A Ruinous Fate by Kylie Smith. And this one is also a YA fantasy and also comes out on the 3rd. I'll read the first paragraph of the description though. Calliope Rosewood is a witch with a long streak of bad luck. Like all witches in Illustris, her fate is directly tied to a witch's dice. Powerful artifacts that have blessed her kind with limitless magic, but also sent them on a path toward destruction. Cursed with unspeakable powers that terrify even the most dangerous witches and fae, Calla deserted her coven 4 years ago and has been in hiding with her 2 best friends since. But Calla is also hiding a grave secret. She is only 3 rolls away from becoming the last blood warrior and starting the Fates War that will decimate her people and eradicate their magic. Ooh, okay. Words were hard this morning. So that one sounds kind of cool. It's definitely something different. And yeah, I would like to look into this, get to read another Richie book. And it says it is the first book in the Heartless Fates, so it's a planned series. So that's always cool too, that are going to have a long time to spend with these characters and really delve into stuff like that. Standalones are cool, but I will say that I have not read too many tons of standalones. Almost everything is a series or turns into a series. Okay. Also coming out on the 3rd, it switches to another genre though. Now it is going to be a thriller, and this is The Villa by Rachel Hawkins. And it does sound cool. It sounds different. As kids, Emily and Chess were inseparable, but by their 30s, their bond has been strained by the demands of their adult lives. So when Chess suggests a girls' trip to Italy, Emily jumps at the chance to reconnect with her best friend. Villa Astris in Ortivo is a high-end holiday home now, but in 1974, it was known as Villa Rosata and rented for the summer by a notorious rock star, Noel Gordon. In an attempt to reignite his creative spark, Noel invites up-and-coming musician Pierce Sheldon to join him, as well as Pierce's girlfriend Mary and her stepsister Laura. But he also sets in motion a chain of events that leads to Mari writing one of the greatest horror novels of all time, Laura composing a platinum album, and ends in Pierce's brutal murder. So that's just the first snippet there. I think I'm only going to read the first snippets of stuff because we don't want to get too much spoilers given away of the book, right? So this one sounds cool. It's definitely a change of pace. I think, yes. Need to work in something not fantasy every month, right? I'm going to try at least. As I said, I'm going to try because the next 2 books are both fantasy and both come out on the 17th. The first one is Queen Among the Dead by Leslie Livingston. This is a YA fantasy. I did not write that on that note. Okay. In the Kingdom of Eerie, banshees chill the air and water rights lurk in the rivers, but magic is outlawed by the king and jealously hoarded by his druid priests. Neve is the young daughter of the king, and Ronan is a druid's apprentice turned thief, making a living by selling stolen spells. They should be enemies, but their shared hatred of the druids and dark magic has marked them both as unlikely allies. And things, of course, happen with her father and that. It says that this is inspired by the legend of the first true queen of Ireland and perfect for fans of Shelby Mahurin names and Adrian Young. Yeah, I don't know how that this January came out with so many YA fantasies. Okay, Also on the 17th, though, is fantasy, and this is by Kate Elliott, The Keeper 6. This one sounds very cool. It's been years since Esther set foot in the beyond, the alien landscape stretching between worlds, crossing boundaries of space and time. She and her magical traveling party, her Hex, haven't spoken since the Concilium banned them from the beyond for a decade. But when she wakes in the middle of the night to her grown son's cry for help, the members of her Hex are the only ones she can trust to help her bring him back from wherever he has been taken. I'm so sorry my words are not working this morning. You never stop worrying about your kids, even when they're adults. That's a little tagline. So this one we have an older character, which I appreciate in the mom aspect, and she sounds like she might be a bit of a badass. So, yep, that's gonna be cool. So, yep, I don't really have anything for later January. These are the ones I have, except for the honorable mentions. So the first honorable mention, of course, has to be The Secret Project by Brandon Sanderson, or Secret Project #1. This one does sound very cool, and it's honorable mention because one, I don't know the day that we'll actually be getting it, and two, you had to have backed the Kickstarter to be able to get it in January. If you didn't back the Kickstarter, then you will be able to get it in April when it is released to the public at large. But I'm very excited for it. I don't know when I'm going to get it. I did the full backing, so I'm going to get a physical copy and the ebook and the audiobook because I can't help myself. The next honorable mention would be Finley Donovan Jumps the Gun. It comes out on January 31st. So this is an honorable mention because this is the third in the series. I swear I thought the first one only came out in the fall, but apparently it came out, that was like the second one, even though I was seeing the first one's name. I don't know. This series, though, is like a mystery series. It is about an author who, when pitching something to her editor at a coffee shop, was overheard. And then she was confused for someone who was an assassin, no, a hit woman or something. And someone tried to come hire her to kill their husband. So it sounds funny and cute, and I've been meaning to get to reading it, so I'm glad that they keep going with it. I like to get into another series that's like just fun like that and not too big and worrying or high stakes, I guess. Yeah, I would like another series like that. And the last honorable mention for January is going to be Chain of Thorns by Cassandra Clare. I have not read this one of her series yet at all. I thought this came out in the fall too, but apparently it's been pushed back and it currently has a January 31st release date. We'll have to see if it is still coming out or if it's pushed back again, because I swear I thought this came out in the fall. Moving right along into February, the first one is a fantasy, though I don't know, I get some sci-fi vibes from it. It's not because it seems, I don't know why I feel sci-fi-ish. It just something about the culture. I know it's fantasy, but it just, I don't know. It comes out though on February 1st, and that is The 11th Cycle Mistland by Kane Adderlaren. I should have put a disclaimer at the beginning of the video that I'm going to mispronounce probably every author's name because names are hard and I don't do very well with that. It has been 1,000 years since the last seed abandoned their duty. The mists are closing in. Finally, the morning bells toll. A new seed is born. But is it too late? The rot eats away at mortals. The witnesses pray so that they may not turn into the one of the forgotten, and the constricting mists infect the lands with fear. But there is more to this tale than just the elders and their seeds. 4 mortals will have a part to play in Minthera's fate. A farmer girl with only love in her eyes, a warrior born to the life of a refugee, a highborn stuck between the realm of gods and men, and a woman running into the front lines and away from home. So this sounds like a world on the brink, a fantasy world that's been kind of stuck somewhere as their seed, whatever that is, has abandoned them, and now some amounts of time later a new one has been born to them. So I feel like this is maybe a chosen one tale, though we do have 4 characters it sounds like that we will be following. The cover of this, though, it does look kind of cool with like this war era looking on the cover. The next book comes out on Valentine's Day the 14th, and that is The Last Tale of the Flower Bride by Roshani Chokashi. I'm very Very sorry to everyone for how I pronounce names. Okay. Once upon a time, a man who believed in fairy tales married a beautiful, mysterious woman named Indigo Maxwell Cassandra. He was a scholar of myths. She was heiress to a fortune. They exchanged gifts and stories and believed they would live happily ever after. And in exchange for her love, Indigo extracted a promise that her bridegroom would never pry into her past. But then, of course, they have to go back to her home because of things. And he might not be able to keep that promise because of secrets uncovered from her past. The next one comes out on February 21st, and this is another dystopian fantasy, which seems to really be what the author does, and that is Arch Conspirator by Veronica Roth. Outside the last city of Earth, the planet is a wasteland. Without the archive where the genes of the dead are stored, humanity will end. No, pen, bad, stop. Antigone's parents, Oedipus and Jocasta, are dead. Passing into the archive should be a cause for celebration. But with their militant uncle Creon rising to claim her father's vacant throne, all Antigone feels is rage. When he welcomes her and her siblings into his mansion, Antigone feels it for what it really is, a gilded cage where she is captive as well as guest. But her uncle will soon learn that no cage is unbreakable, and neither is he. So yeah, another dystopian novel of some sort of ness. I think it might be YA fantasy dystopianness, since they're going to live with her uncle instead of them rising to the throne. We'll see. Also coming out on the 21st, though, is Iron Wolf by Siri Peterson. And this one definitely is a fantasy of a different kind of nature. Jova knows all about blood readers. Praise for their sight, my bad. They are nothing but swindlers preying on people's fears for power and profit. Born by blood readers herself, she knows only too well, and she has vowed never to become one of them. But when her family is threatened by Verity, the eerie lasting ones who never age, Java is entangled in a desperate hunt in the blood reader's legacy, a dark secret that once changed the world and may do so again. In order to survive, she has to confront the terrifying childhood memory she has sought to forget. So Sid, that sounds cool. That sounds different. And I want to check it out. And now for our two honorable mentions of February. They're in the honorable mention section because they are both sequel novels. The first one is going to be April Asher's sequel to Not the Witch You Wed, which is Not Your Ex's Hexes. And this one you're following Rose Maxwell of the Maxwell triplets and her love interest kind of who is half demon, and neither of them actually wants to be in a relationship according to the description, at least the beginning of the description, but then it also sounds like he kind of does, but he just can't. The next one is The Cradle of Ice by James Rollins. This is the sequel to The Starless Crown, which I did do a review for way back when, and I don't know, I want to see where it goes because I did have some issues with the first one. It was okay, but I had some issues, but I want to see where he's going to take this world because there was a lot of thought-provoking things in it that can be built upon, and I want to see where he takes the history of the world. I really do. And this is the second in the Moonfall series. They both come out on the 7th. I don't know if I said that. So they both come out on February 7th. Our first one for March comes out on the 2nd, and it is The Adventures of Amina al-Sharifa by Shannon Chakrabarty, which is the author of The City of Brass, and this is the start of a new trilogy. And it will have a older main character at least, so this sounds like a lot of fun and like something I am looking forward into getting, the perspective of. Amina al-Sarafi should be content. After a storied and scandalous career as one of the Indian Ocean's most notorious pirates, she survived backstabbing rogues, vengeful merchant princes, several husbands, and one actual demon to retire peacefully with her family to a life of piety, motherhood, and absolutely nothing that hints of the supernatural. But when she's tracked down by an obscenely wealthy mother of a former crewman, she's offered a job no bandit could refuse. Retrieve her comrade's kidnapped daughter for a kingly sum. The chance to have one last adventure with her crew, do right by an old friend, and win a fortune that will secure her family's future forever. It seems like such an obvious choice that it must be God's will. And it says that this is a new trilogy of magic mayhem on the high seas. In this tale of pirates, sorcerers, forbidden artifacts, and ancient mysteries, and one woman's determined quest to seize a final chance at glory and write her own legend. So see, it sounds nice. It sounds very nice. Nice might not be the right word. I don't know. Also coming out on the 2nd, though, is Quantum Radio by A.J. Riddle. I found that I like a lot of his stuff. The way he writes it is just a bit different. This one is going to be fiction with, the little bit of mystery aspects as we're trying to delve into it and uncover something. And all of his, especially the last few, are very sciencey based too. Not even, okay, not like real science. Currently, kind of. At CERN, a scientist has just made a discovery that will change the world forever. Dr. Tyson Hauser, a quantum physicist working at CERN in Geneva, Switzerland. He is a man completely dedicated to his research, which focuses on finding patterns in the data generated by the Large Hadron Collider. Thanks to a recent upgrade to the massive machine, Ty believes he's found a new pattern, what looks like an organized data stream being broadcast over what Ty believes is a sort of quantum radio. And then, of course, who's it being sent from? What's it say? There are forces watching him, working against him. All the fun stuff of novels of this sort. Our next one comes out on the 7th, and this is The Foxglove King by Hannah Whitten, who is the author of the Wilderwood duology. This is completely unrelated, though. But I just know that I already kind of like her style that she does there. Well, I like the first book more than the second book, but moving on. When Laura was 13, she escaped a cult in the catacombs beneath the city of Delray, and in 10 years since, she's lived by one rule: don't let them find you. Easier said than done when her death magic ties her to the city. Mortem, the magic born from death, is a high-priced and illicit commodity in Delray, and Laura's job running poisons keeps her in food, shelter, and relative security. But when a run goes wrong and Laura's power is revealed, she's taken by the Prazik Mord, a group of warrior monks sanctioned to use Mortem, working for the sainted king. Laura fully expects the power, but King August has a different plan. Entire villages on the outskirts of the country have been dying overnight, seemingly at random. Laura can either use her magic to find out what's happening and who in the king's court is responsible, or die. So, this is a fantasy type novel. I don't know what it's branded as, though. It's YA or adult fantasy right now. Our character is kind of in that 20s age range that it could be either. The next one comes out on the 21st, and that is The Lies of the Jungo, maybe, by Moses Ozi Otami. Names. And this is a debut novella, and it seems to be taking you into this world that he's wanting to create, possibly through probably more novels, I'm assuming, called The Forever Desert. In the City of Lies, they cut out your tongue when you turn 13 to appease the terrifying Njugo Empire and make sure it continues sending water. Tutu will be 13 in 3 days, but his parched mother won't last that long. So he goes to his Oba and makes a deal. She provides water for his mother, and in exchange, he will travel out into the desert and bring back water for the city. Thus begins Tutu's quest for the salvation of his mother, his city, and himself. It says, The Lies of the Enju opens the curtains on a tremendous world and begins the epic fable of the Forever Desert. With every word, the author weaves magic. So we shall see. Hopefully, as a novella, it'll be good. It'll be thought through, Sometimes shorter ones, they don't have all the pieces. We'll see how it goes. And the last one for March is The Infinity Gate by M.R. Carey. This comes out on March 28th. Infinity is only the beginning. The Pandominium, a political and trading alliance of 1,000,000 worlds, except that they are all only just one world, Earth, in many different realities. And when an AI threat arises that could destroy everything the Pandominium has built, they'll eradicate it by whatever means necessary, no matter the cost to human life. Except there's a scientist who is trying to, of course, not make it to where world versions of Earth and people will be killed and destroyed. And that is who we will be following. It sounds cool. And our one honorable mention for March is going to be Defiant, which is book 4 in the Skyward series. So it's honorable mention, one, because it is the 4th book in the series, and also because the release date seems to not actually be clear. Goodreads and a few other sites do have it listed as releasing on March 16th, but without a cover or any clear description. And then the Coppermind wiki, which is a big fandom of Brandon Sanderson's, and they do so much research and stuff, they list this release date as being on November 21st, based off something that Sanderson himself had said. The State of the Sanderson should be coming out soon, I think like this week, next week by the time this is up, I don't know. And maybe then we will get a definitive date about the status of the 4th in the Skyward series. I think this is also the conclusion to the series. Maybe. I'm not sure. These are some of the ones that I'm looking forward to coming out in the first quarter of the year. There are a few more that I've heard about that I am... I think they sound good, but I would like to read more into them or read them before I, recommend them to everybody at large. There are definitely some interesting sounding ones though that are still going to come out in the first 3 months that I will be letting you guys know about as I can get to them and see how they sound. I'll also be trying to do a much better job of actually reading the ones from my anticipated list next year. That's one of my goals, to actually read the ones that I am saying I'm anticipating. All of them. Most of them. Let's go with at least majority of them. If we can't make all of them, majority. Right? Yeah. Finally, today, and I guess I'll do it tomorrow too, and we'll just record the picking Monday morning and add that part into the video there to be at the end or something. But finally, this weekend is going to be the last chance to enter into the December giveaway, so if you haven't already, go check out my December TBR and enter to win something that is nice, because who doesn't love giveaways? Love giveaways. And thank you guys all so much for watching, and I hope that you will check out my other videos and subscribe if you haven't already. That way you can join us for future anticipated releases, book reviews, bookish unboxings, all the good stuff, all the fun stuff. And yeah, that we will keep going into 2023. It's been a good book year. I hope that you guys are finding something awesome to read and staying warm and cozy. And I'll see you later. Bye.